It's a real thing now.
Oh yeah, big fish. We the ones that you wanna get with. Took a couple L's, rung a couple bells. Real ones, too legit for coin tell. Had to wipe my nose, man. Oh my god. Yo, no AC ever again. I promise you. I'm not sleeping next to the AC ever again. This has been the most annoying thing. But Grand Rising, y'all. Grand Rising, good people. Y'all know what it is. Shout out to Antonice in the building early. Do me a favor, like on your way in. That's going to help boost the algorithm. Y'all know why that's important. Antonice, we said every day this week. Yeah, I'm be honest, I almost was like, yo, maybe a little bit later today. But I got the tea. We rocking. It is what it is. Shout out to SB in the building. We got Unc in the building. My boy, keep going. We gonna keep applying pressure, man. That's all we know. That's all we know, man. That's all we know, man. When you're not, that's the greatest thing about not being maybe just superior or having superior talent or something. I mean, growing up, you know, when you just gotta work hard at it. And I think my bro SB, not that at all. You're not superiorly talented, which I know you are. But when it came to both of us, especially when it came to football, I believe that we both tried to, how can I put it? Tried to squeeze every ounce of ability out of ourselves, and I believe you did it more than me. So that's something that I always looked up to you for, brother. So yeah, man, that's what we do. We just keep going. Just keep quitting. That's what Nip says. That's what all the legends say, bro. Just keep going. Nothing special. I just kept going. So we're gonna keep following suit. Unc said pressure bust pipes. There it go. I'm proud of you, Dak. You did what you said. You know he's standing on business. Come on now. This is a we thing. We did it. So today I'm gonna be totally honest. I had a video that I wanted to go through with y'all because one of the things that I do, especially at night when I'm just trying to listen to something, maybe learn something that day about, it could be about aliens, it could be about all types of stuff. And I was sitting there last night thinking about this conflict with Iran, Israel, Muslims, Jewish people, Christians, and thinking about how much religion has played a role in creating all this division. And this is not one to roast religion. All right. So that's not what I'm here to do. But when I was thinking about all these things, I was just like, damn, like it was almost like a Rodney King moment. Like, can't we all get along? Like that type of thing. And I was like, yo, I don't even know exactly where this all started. When you hear about Judeo-Christian values, all these different things, you know, we know that the religions have a lot of similarities. We know that some of the stories overlap. We know that some of the same people in the Christian religion are also in the Jewish religion and possibly with Islam as well. Obviously, the Old Testament is largely based on, if not very similar, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as the Torah, but just, you know, different books, maybe a little bit different here and there, especially with some of the updates that the books have made. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, like it's almost like when we think about family. And as I started watching this video, that I didn't watch the entire thing because I was like, you know what, maybe this is something good that I can watch with the rest of y'all. And Unc, you sent a video? I'll check that as well. My bad, I must have missed that. I'll check that as well. And as I was sitting here watching this video, I'm like, dang, like these people are family. Based on the scriptures, like these people are family. And y'all know how it is sometimes with family. Sometimes with family, because you're close to them, you feel like you should be closer to them maybe than your friends because that's your blood. Doesn't always work that way. Blood is thicker than water, not always. That type of thing, right? So as I started watching the video, learning certain things, and I told y'all I didn't finish the rest, I said, you know what? Maybe this is something good to share with y'all. So then my mom, few other people started sending me some videos, and I'm like, all right, maybe we could touch on that as well. Maybe we could touch on this. So we're gonna try to get through as much of the previous videos, or the icebreakers, I guess you can call them, beforehand, before we get into the actual video that I wanted to show y'all. But I wanted to just preface everything with doing what maybe we've discussed a little bit, but the overwhelming majority of our message or tone has been more so maybe feeding into the division. I don't know. I mean, sometimes you may think that you need to call certain things out, get on the same page with certain things, and then move forward from there. However, I think with this one, I just want us to go at it from a sense of understanding, and us trying to figure out if we can understand what's going on, if we can understand where this all started. And a lot of times, just like with family stuff or with friends that we bicker with, you get to the root of it and you realize, like, yo, this is what we were beefing over. Like, literally, this just came to mind. But I remember, even with gangs, right? All this stuff is funny how all this stuff relates and the things that pop into your mind. But I remember hearing like what broke up the gangster disciples. It was and the black disciples, right? Because I believe it was the black gangster disciples. Then they split up, and you think about what broke that up and how people have been fighting for 20, 30 years based on that. And you look at the Bloods and Crips in LA, all those type of things, and you realize that a lot of the religious stuff, a lot of the political stuff, actually the gang stuff is a microcosm of a lot of those things, where it's the same thing. Like, here I'm learning about Israel and I should say Judaism and Islam, and I'm like, yo, this started from brothers. Like, this whole beef started from some brothers beefing. Like, this is what this all started from, and they still beefing over it now. So I don't mean to trivialize it if that's what it's coming across as, but like I said, when you get to a lot of the root of these problems, a lot of the root of these issues, it's like, wait, what exactly are we beefing over? Aren't we on the same team? Aren't we on the same side? And we can kind of go from there. So we're going to watch that video last. All right. Let me catch up with some of these comments. SB wrote, all the juice out that lemon, bro. You pushed me to be better. I'll never forget that. Scoop and score. Yeah, stop, bro. Oh, man. Man. Yeah. Yo, shout out to my brother, man. Love my brother. All right. So, Unc, let me shoot. Sorry if I'm going to have the sniffles a little bit. Everything is starting to finally get out of my system, so I guess that's a good thing. But let's start off with some of these icebreakers. We got a fun one that Shy sent over. Shout out to Shy. A question for all of us. Just a little cool little icebreaker to start off things. All right, let me make sure that you guys are seeing this on your end. Let me go chill in the corner. And let's see.
20K in cash right now, or flip a coin for 40 million? I ran across this. This is a very interesting question. So would you just take the 200K cash, no exceptions, no rules, or would you try to flip a coin for 40 million but possibly lose it? I think the answer to this is predicated upon where you are in life. If you already have $200,000, then I can see somebody saying, look, I'll just take a chance for the 40 million. But I think for most people, because you could literally walk away with nothing, would take that 200K. Yeah, I think I would. Right now, I would take the 200K. But y'all let me know in the comments, which one would you take? 200K or flip for 40 million possibly? 20K in cash right now.
Which one y'all taking? I thought this was a funny one. I'm going to be honest. All right, so how I'm looking at it, 200K, even if I take that 200K, I'm going to be regretting the what if of the 40 mil. And the 200K, what you're doing is you're saying that, yo, I'm gonna bet on myself with it. You can grow that. That's cool. That may be good as well. But I'm flipping that coin, bro. I'm flipping that coin, man. I'm flipping that coin. I'm putting faith. Hey, y'all gonna see me get religious. I'm gonna put faith in God, bro. God want me to flip the coin and get the 40. That's what I feel like. So that's how I'm looking at it. I saw Anthony said the 200K, and I'm just talking. I'll be totally honest, because I tend to be more on the conservative side when it comes to money, as far as spending when it comes to certain things. But I tell you what, man. 200K would be useful, but 40 mil? 40 mil? All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a big thing off of the 40 mil, right? Because you gotta look at it like this. All right, so now we're looking at the branding, the marketing, and all that other stuff. With the 40 mil, we're gonna create a big scene, a big event off of me flipping that coin. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to incentivize it, create something around it, create a buzz. We're going to have an entire event and then market that out, because people are going to be interested in, like, yo, damn, dude turned down 200K. So therefore, like, he got a chance to win 40 mil, right? So I also incentivize it, maybe get other people involved and say, like, yo, if I win, I'm giving $1 million of that out or $2 million of that out, whatever it is. I'm going to give a certain amount of money away, saying so therefore we build this camaraderie around it, right? We get people invested. And then even if I don't get the 40 mil, if I don't get it was 40 mil, right? Yeah, if I don't get the 40 mil, then I'm still building so much branding around it that I should be able to create some deals that, even if they don't directly in the then and now create 200,000, but I should be able to build off that and then be seen as somebody that rolls the dice. Because keep it real, people like to watch people who roll the dice, not people who just take the easy route. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to build around that 40 mil, create the event around the 40 mil, build the brand, build the content, everything, get the rest of the creators around, and just, I'll have, what's the Duke? I have Kai Cenat there. We're going to pay Kai Cenat. We're going to pay all these people, right? Get people invested. And then I'm going to go for that 40 mil. And then when I get the 40 mil, it's up, man. It's up. Then we everybody right now in the chat, we all flying out to wherever. We're going to start incorporating the OG network in different ways. And where you're going to live, we're going to buy a big piece of land and all have, humble homes, just something more that is going to allow us to get out and appreciate the nature where we're living, all these different things. And we're going to create our own oasis, right? And we're going to show everybody in the rest of the world how people should be living, could be living, get back to that village mentality. That's the goal. You feel me? So that's how I'm looking at it. Man, stop playing. I'm taking that 200. Nah, give me the 40 mil. I'm taking the 40. I'm taking the 40. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. All right. So you guys let me know what you're rocking with. All right. So this other video, speaking of money, we're going to kind of stay in the same lane. This video was sent to me. Shout out my homegirl, Portia. She sent me this video, and it was something based on a little bit more of a serious video, but something based on what happens in a cashless society. So this is what happens in a cashless society. So let me, with everything going in that direction that a lot of people see, where we're not using cash, there's a lot of areas where people are concerned, scared about, where it just seems like that's going to be one more thing that just allows government control. When you let's say you do your own taxes, you're an independent contractor of sorts, you realize more and more the freedom that having cash allows. When you look at, I think they just put, what was the bill or law or whatever they just put through? I think Biden put it through where any amount over $500 or $5,000 has to get reported, something like that, or they can have access to it or something like that. You realize very quickly, like, hold up, bruh. Like, it goes back to the Malcolm X, like, get your hand out my pocket. Like, that's really what it goes to. So I'm with it. Like, this whole cashless stuff, I still want there to be some type of cash. And maybe when things become cashless, maybe things will move more into trading with coins again. The value of gold, maybe those type of things. But take a look at this video. You guys let me know your thoughts. and whether or not you think this is where we're heading.
Because a digital currency, and this is all accepted. This is all accepted. This is not theory. Is programmable. They can program a digital currency to mean you can only spend it on certain things and you can't spend it on others not designated by the government. And it's programmable so it can only be spent in a certain area. So if you go outside of your zone, your money won't work. And not only that, it means that when you go past one of these number plate cameras when you, quote, shouldn't, you won't be able to challenge the fine because the fine will be taken out of your digital account the moment you transgress. This is what's happening. Now, these digital currencies are called central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, because a digital currency, and this is all accepted. This is all accepted. This is not theory. Is programmable. They can program a digital currency to mean you can only spend it on certain things and you can't spend it on others not designated by the government. And it's programmable so it can only be spent in a certain area. So if you go outside of your zone, your money won't work. And not only that, it means that when you go past one of these number plate cameras when you, quote, shouldn't, you won't be able to challenge the fine because the fine will be taken out of your digital account the moment you transgress.
My bad. My bad. The mic's off. My apologies with that. But what they're talking about, have y'all heard about like different places implementing certain processes where like you have this, I forget exactly where it was when I heard this, but you can get charged a certain amount, or you have, is it in China where like if you get caught jaywalking, like it'll just come out of your account or something like that. Or maybe that's just where they were going, where if you commit a crime or if you do anything, like they have the facial recognition. Think about it. They could pretty much turn any and everything into, like, I just look at them just using this as a way for them to keep more money, for them to take away a lot of the freedoms that come with. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. My apologies. But for them to take away a lot of the freedoms that we have with just using cash. If they're controlling everything, that's just the way that they are going to be able to just take more money, whether it's the IRS. Y'all know last when I think Biden was in, they brought in all of those new IRS folk. What were all those new IRS folk to do the audits? They're trying to just take more money from us. It just is what it is. They want to be in our pockets. They want to know who we're giving money to, who we're spending it with. It's just a way of control, in my opinion. It's just a way of control, in my opinion. And it's good that I was on mute because I'm not even going to front. I was talking ish because somebody was supposed to send me a video and I didn't think that they sent it, but they actually did. So we'll finish this one up and then go right into that.
This is what's happening. Now, these digital currencies are called central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, because a digital currency, and this is all accepted. This is all accepted. This is not theory. Is programmable.
All right, I think that's a loop. I don't know. Yeah, I think I just played the same video for y'all like 3 times. My apologies. I was looking for that other video. But the other video is worth it because we got some breaking news. We got some breaking news, and it's our girl, one of our favorite people in television. Who do y'all think we're talking about? The one, the only, well, not still in television, but she's still in the mix. It's Joy Reid. All right, so we're going to listen to this ad by Align, this 3-in-1 biotic that wasn't planned. And then we're going to get, oh my God, did I just click on the damn link? All right, come on. So Joy Reid, you're not going to believe what Joy Reid said on The Breakfast Club. You are not going to believe what Joy Reid said on The Breakfast Club. And I got to get on my producer because my producer is sending me links with ads. My apologies on their behalf. It will be addressed. But no, just joking. So Joy Reid had something to say on The Breakfast Club that may surprise a lot of y'all. All right, so I want y'all to think back to, remember we talked about Karine Jean-Pierre? We talked about Karine Jean-Pierre, and she put out that book where it pretty much discusses why she's leaving the Democratic Party. So this was the press secretary for Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre. This is the one that was saying Biden's healthy, all that other stuff. We don't want to get into all that. Shout out to Biden, wherever Biden is right now. I hope he's on the beach with his feet up, relaxing. Shout out to Biden, for real. So Joy Reid had this. Let me just shut up and play out a video. There we go. But just keep in mind, some of the most staunch Democratic supporters, especially when it comes to Joy Reid, because obviously she wasn't just the press secretary. She was somebody on a mainstream news outlet, MSNBC. And we're starting to maybe realize that a lot of these people just, it wasn't that they liked the Democratic Party, but it was more so about hating Trump. I have not seen this clip. My mom brought it up, and then Maya sent it over. So we're going to take a look at it. So if it's bad, it's on them.
I've been a Democrat since I was old enough to vote, but I'm barely hanging on, honestly.
Whoa, let's say that again. Whoa.
I've been a Democrat since I was old enough to vote, but I'm barely hanging on, honestly, because at this point, the party is not bigger than the future of my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have 3 children. I have, a daughter and 2 sons that have to live in this country as Black people. And fascism don't work for me, and I'm not willing to cede the country to Trumpism and MAGA simply because I'm clinging to this party. So people getting all mad at Karine Jean-Pierre for saying but I'm not mad at that, because I'm like, at this point, it isn't, who cares what the party label is? Give me an effective fighter. If Jasmine Crockett is the most effective fighter, give me Jasmine Crockett. And I really don't care what you have to move around or who you have to disappoint in order to give me her. Just give me her, because we need a leader.
This is a lot for a minute, and I'm gonna run it back. I want to touch on a couple different points that she made. I really don't know what she means when she says that, when she's throwing the whole fascism, Trump out there. Perhaps Joy Reid should be thanking Trump. Is it on mute? Hold on. All right, good. No. Perhaps Joy Reid should be thanking Trump. And yeah, we're going to get on to Jasmine Crockett. We're going to get onto that as well. But exactly what she just described, that's who Trump was. Trump has bounced back and forth between being a Democrat and a Republican his entire life. Trump has done this. Let me say this again. Trump has jumped back and forth being a Democrat or a Republican his entire life. But what's also funny about Trump is, or maybe not funny, is that he's had a lot of the same views for the last 30, 40 years when it comes to politics, when it comes to America, when it comes to elevating America and bringing out the best of America. Case in point with the tariffs. Trump was he's the first person that I've seen when we look at all these videos with Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders talking about the tariffs, doing the very same things that Trump is doing now with implementing the tariffs. Trump's been talking about that. He's been very consistent in where his politics have been, in my opinion, However, he's bounced back and forth from party to party. Now, one may say, well, how can you be consistent if you're bouncing back and forth between party and party? It's because the parties change. It's because the parties change. We're seeing the parties change now. Now, this may have held a little bit more weight 2 weeks ago, but hear me out. Trump campaigned on peace, not wanting to get into another forever war. A lot of the tariffs that a lot of the Democrats were pushing in order to bring back American manufacturers, getting away from the elite ideology of being able to just use cheap labor in China, but forcing America to, or forcing other countries to either bring their factories to America or forcing a lot of American companies to stay in America because they're going to charge them a certain amount in tariffs. So therefore we can keep the jobs in America. A lot of the policies that Trump was pushing were Democratic policies. That's why a Tulsi Gabbard came over from the Democrats. Excuse me. That's why an RFK Jr. came over from the Democrats. That's why a lot of people have been transitioning, whether you see like a Dave Rubin, a lot of random Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, a lot of these people were seeing things very liberal, very on the Democratic side, but then they moved their stance. And then moving their stance wasn't necessarily them moving their stance. A lot of it was the Democratic Party. And this kind of came up in a conversation that we had yesterday where my bro rightfully commented on the title of the show yesterday, where it was, you know, Trump pushes for ceasefire. And he rightfully commented that Trump, how can you pushing for a ceasefire after you drop a bomb on a country is kind of wild. Would y'all agree? And we said it on the show. Y'all know where I stood. I didn't want any involvement in that. Just is what it is. But then what stood out to me is that, and my response was, I agree. And Trump knows that. But as I was sitting there thinking about it, let me feed my ego, get a little bigger on the screen. But as I was sitting here thinking about the conversation, and y'all know, never mind, let me not say that. All right. Shout out to Vons. Vons, you in the building, brother? I miss you. All right, so neither here nor there. But as I was reading the text and I was reading it back and I was just thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, you know, definitely Trump is well aware that, you know, it's probably doesn't make the most sense to drop a bomb. This is just my opinion. Now, if it ends up working out, if it ends up being a true ceasefire, then yeah, okay, cool. I think only time will tell. And I mean, I just don't think that you drop a bomb on people that you're claiming are screaming death to America and their only job is, the only thing that they want to do is destroy America. It just doesn't seem very consistent, especially when you consider the fact that they gave Trump and America the heads up saying, hey, can you remove your troops from this base because we're getting ready to drop a bomb on there. Everything seems to be like symbolic to the point where I was asking my parents yesterday, I was wondering, I was like, yeah, you think like they even really dropped a bomb? Or is this like just some like AI or just some game that the elites are playing where, you know, they did this and then they put a symbolic. Now, I don't think that that's what happened. I was just asking the question. I don't think that that's what happened. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. But let me get back to the point. My boy said that it's kind of crazy to be dropping a bomb and then pushing a ceasefire. And I agreed. But one thing that I've never heard any of my Democratic voting liberal friends say or criticize is that it's kind of crazy to be pushing a ceasefire when you never ask Israel for a ceasefire. Now, I never heard any of my friends that lean liberal bring up that point. Now, Israel has come out and said that the Biden-Harris administration never asked for a ceasefire. Doesn't that sound kind of crazy to y'all? Remember when AOC was jumping on stage saying that Kamala Harris is fighting tirelessly for a ceasefire between Israel and Palestine? Remember when Kamala Harris and all the rest of the Democrats had to try to convince a lot of their Muslim voters that they were pushing Israel to have a ceasefire, but then Israel comes out and says, yeah, they never even asked us for a ceasefire. So it just, goes to play into the conversation that I'm having with, or that we're having now with Joy Reid, because it's like, it seems that this Trump derangement syndrome is so strong that it doesn't even allow us to acknowledge certain things that you may be aligned with Trump on. Now, some of my boys do acknowledge certain things. For instance, I think there was something where America First where one of my bros just acknowledged. So some people do, but a lot of people get so swayed into or get so triggered emotionally by hating a particular candidate that it doesn't even allow them to see the bigger picture. It doesn't even allow them to put the proper pressure on the Democratic Party like a Joy Reid should have been doing. Instead of criticizing Trump, why don't you put pressure on your Democratic Party to do better? Why don't you put pressure on your Democratic Party to start making some sensible laws? We can start with, let's just call a spade by saying, what's a woman? We can start there. We can start by maybe having a conversation about why tampons are in boys' bathrooms. We can have a conversation maybe on why boys are competing in women's sports and you got boys with penises getting undressed in the same locker room as young girls. Maybe we could start there and then build from that. Maybe we could start with the Democrats creating their own Project 2025. Therefore, we can see some of your foundational principles, because just saying bad, Trump bad, Republican bad does not do anything to elevate where the Democratic Party is. And that's why we're seeing a bunch of these shifts. There's no foundational principles. The only principle is we hate Trump. And the reason why I started off saying that I think Joy Reid may want to thank Trump is because that's who Trump was. Exactly what she just described in Jasmine Crockett. I'm not a Jasmine Crockett fan, but Trump was the person that did not take the conservative route into politics. The Republicans, I mean, they fought him. He earned it, every bit of it. Trump was on stage debating. You remember, what was it, 2015, I think? Trump was on stage debating like 10 people. He literally, I don't care what you say about him, what you think about him. When it came to Trump, he got it out the mud politically. He went through the mud. He didn't get the Kamala Harris alley-oop where Joe Biden's gonna just say, oh, I'm not gonna run anymore. And 2 days later, Kamala Harris has the nominee. Trump went through the fire with it. Now, I would expect certain people to respect that aspect of it, even if they don't like him. But to the point that I'm trying to make, you can have that, Joy Reid. Jasmine Crockett can go do her thing. She can apply pressure. You said she's one of the most best leaders. When I see Jasmine Crockett, I see her as a very aggressive woman, a very aggressive politician. So she doesn't have to sit back and accept what the rest of the Democratic Party does or who they want to put up next. She doesn't have to accept that. She could do what Trump did. She could do what RFK Jr. did. She could do what, I don't know, Tulsi Gabbard may have done. Go independent. Put pressure on the Democrats. Say you're going to run anyway. So let's get into the actual video real quick. Let's get into actual video. And let me shout out the Boog in the building. Unc wrote, I've been a Republican for 42 years now. If you have to think about it, I voted Republican when I was 18. Unc, that's different. That's different. And I'm almost wondering, what made you so open to the Republican Party? Because just being honest, how most of us grow up, if you're Black in America, you grow up thinking that the Republican Party is racist and the Democrats are the ones that are supporting Black people. So I'm interested to know what exactly made you vote that way. So Unc said Japan said no to his deal on tariffs. All right, so yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, so let's go through this video one more time. And there were a couple other comments, and we will discuss Jasmine Crockett as well. All right.
I've been a Democrat since I was old enough to vote, but I'm barely hanging on, honestly, because at this point, the party is not bigger than the future of my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have 3 children. I have, a daughter and 2 sons that have to live in this country as Black people. And fascism don't work for me, you know, and I'm not willing to cede the country to.
I got to stop it real quick. This is the problem that I have with the Democratic Party. Maybe y'all have a similar party. This is a 1-minute clip. She's saying that she no longer feels the same commitment to the Democratic Party. But she does not bring up one criticism for the Democratic Party. She does not say this is where the Democratic Party needs to improve. This is where the Democratic Party can make it safer for my kids. This is where the Democratic Party can help repair the economy instead of doing what they're currently doing. This is where they can improve in this area. She does not do anything of that nature. The only thing she does is continue the things that she's been doing on MSNBC, what a lot of these politicians do on the Democratic side, which is race bait and try to trigger you emotionally. She's not even saying anything in this. But the only thing a lot of people hear is, I'm a black woman, I got black kids, and Trump's a fascist. So what does that have to do with your criticism for the Democratic Party? Why does your criticism for the Democratic Party, like, what does that have to do with Trump as a fascist? You're saying that you can no longer just support the Democratic Party and take the risk of having a guy like Trump who's a fascist, which is, it's kind of wild to say. Let me ask y'all, do y'all really think that, like, do we think that Donald Trump is a fascist? And if so, somebody please help me see exactly where he's a fascist. Help me see that. Oh, was it because he let in 55 white Afrikaners or white South Africans, whatever they're called? Is that why? Is it because he shut down the border? Is it because he turned Roe v. Wade and wanted to give it to the states? Is it because he wanted to keep boys out of girls' sports? Is it because, I don't know. But what makes him a fascist? As somebody who used to think that he was a fascist, somebody who was manipulated with mainstream media and them altering a lot of his interviews, I think the most notable one is the very fine people on both sides. But as somebody who used to have that same level of programming, if I was to sit here and try to say, well, how is Donald Trump racist? It would be very hard for me to take Barack Obama's record as the first black president and then to take Donald Trump's record. And if you erase the names and just looked at the things that Barack Obama did, like if Trump, like we're all upset at Trump for dropping this bomb on Iran, right? But are we aware of the bombs that Barack Obama dropped on? How many people that he killed? We're so mad at Trump for deporting people, right? But are we aware of all of the people that Barack Obama deported and they did not get due process? So please don't put that lie in your mind that they got due process, because they didn't. They went through a special program where they did not have to get due process. So I know a lot of people float that out when they say, oh, well, it's not that I got a problem with him deporting people, but it's the way that he's going about it. Maybe you should take a look at what Barack Obama did. And maybe that's a great point, because what do we tend to do? The people that we hate, we always find criticism for them, but we never seem to criticize the people that we like. And that's the problem that a Joy Reid and a Karine Jean-Pierre are now feeling with the Democratic Party. Y'all spent so much time criticizing the other side, criticizing the opposition, that you didn't pay attention to your own team and fix the things that were issues within your team. That's what I'm saying. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
To cede the country to Trumpism and MAGA simply because I'm clinging to this party. You know, so people getting all mad at Karine Jean-Pierre for saying she's, I'm not mad at that, because I'm like, at this point, it isn't, who cares what the party label is? Give me an effective fighter. If Jasmine Crockett is the most effective fighter, give me Jasmine Crockett.
Mm-hmm. This is maybe one of many things. This could be delusion, because I don't know. I'm not really too in tune with the Democratic Party. Y'all know I don't identify as a Democrat. My pronouns are no, let me stop. You know that I don't really rock with the Democrats at all. So maybe you guys can tell me. I know Vons loves Jasmine Crockett, but do y'all really think that our country would be in good hands with Jasmine Crockett? Or is that just more of an emotional response because we have Trump as president and he's considered to be the face of white supremacy, a white man who's a fascist and he's like Hitler, all these different things that people throw out there, right? Do we really think has it really turned into, and maybe Trump is to blame for some of this, but in my opinion, Trump has so much more substance from a political standpoint where you can judge him on compared to a Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett has come out and said, like, yeah, we're not about creating any policies right now. We're just about fighting Trump. What exactly are y'all fighting with Trump? I don't understand, because you can criticize him. The only thing that people seem to be able to criticize him is dropping the bomb on the Iran nuclear sites, and then asking for a ceasefire. But then we do realize that October 7th happened in 2023, and that while Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were in office, there was what a lot of people on your side call a genocide that happened to Palestine. So while people were wondering why people in Michigan could vote for Donald Trump, the Arab Muslim population up there, when you take a step back and look at it, and then it comes out that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris never even asked for a ceasefire. Keep in mind, Donald Trump, when he was campaigning before he even won, remember he did the interview with the two rabbis and he said, y'all are going to lose the world. You need to wrap this war up. This can't go on. It doesn't make any sense, but somebody please let me know. Where was this energy? And this is what happens. This is what I'm talking about. There's no energy that goes internally to your own party. People that complain about the opposition and complain about the team that they're going up against, to me in sports, those are the ones that do the worst. The ones that focus on their team and what they need to do internally, those are the ones that become successful. So I'm just asking, do y'all think that Jasmine Crockett is the right leader for y'all? Do you think that AOC, and maybe y'all are in a position where, because you've been pushing all this craziness, because you've been pushing all of this woke ideology that the majority, very hard for me to believe that the majority of Americans, Democrat and Republican, agree with this stuff, you're in the position that you're in now. Let's finish it
And
up.
I really don't care what you have to move around or who you have to disappoint in order to give me her. Just give me her, because we need a leader.
This outdated DMV has 2 forms of my ID.
All right, hold on one second. My apologies. I appreciate y'all bearing with me on this one. But yeah, this is, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. They're still using the same fear mongering and race baiting. Like, let me ask y'all this. What's the worst thing that Donald Trump so far has done to black people? What's the worst thing? I don't know. All right, let's move on. I think that was can we get into the what I was telling you about? Okay. Damn, my bad. I got to get over this. I got to figure this thing out. Oh, no. Dang, they done broke my dumbass airport, done broke my little, my soundboard. It is what it is. Don't focus on the negative. All right, so let's get into this video, the main video that I was telling you about. I wanted to also touch on Mamdani, but what we'll do is we'll watch about 10 minutes of this today, and then we'll get y'all out of there. But I just think that it's important for us to go back and see some of the things that are impacting us, that are from the root of it, addressing the root of the issues, and first finding out from an understanding standpoint, how did this all start? So let me pull that up for you. Ah, man, you could be totally fine, but then when you get on camera, like my nose starts acting crazy, everything. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, so this has some graphics in the background, but it's also one of those things that you can just listen to as well. So we'll take a listen to this, and I want y'all to just listen for some understanding. Just listen for some understanding. Appreciate it. Oh, man, this is... Come on, man, stop bitching. My fault.
Why are Jews and Arabs always at war? Why is there constant conflict, even among Muslim countries? The surprising key to understanding this conflict lies in two biblical figures, Isaac and Ishmael. These two brothers were sons of Abraham. Isaac became the patriarch of the Jewish people, and Ishmael became the patriarch of the Arabs and Muslims. Thousands of years ago, the two brothers had a conflict incredibly similar to the one we see today between Israel and the Muslim world. Yet, the Bible doesn't just explain the origin of this conflict, it also reveals how it will end. We'll uncover the only biblical scene where these two brothers reconcile, a scene that, according to scholars, perfectly predicts how this modern-day conflict will finally conclude. Do you know how this story ends according to the Bible? There's an ancient Jewish principle called Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim, meaning the deeds of the fathers are prophetic signs for their children. In simpler terms, the lives of these patriarchs are not merely historical events, they prophetically foreshadow the future of their descendants. Interestingly, Christianity speaks of a similar idea known as typology, used by the Apostle Paul to reveal future events through the stories of the Old Testament. Scholars have applied these two methods to understand Israel's conflict with Muslim nations, and the results are astonishing. Here's why this matters. Isaac and his mother Sarah symbolize the people of Israel, whereas according to Muslim tradition, Ishmael and his mother Hagar represent the Muslim people. When viewed through this lens, everything fits perfectly into place. The conflict begins with a promise from God.
All right, so I gotta stop real quick, because it's funny. When I first was listening to it, I wasn't watching, and I gotta be totally honest. Like, I never want to push something to y'all that. Let me just say it. In a lot of these videos, you'll see people depicted as more European white-skinned people, lighter-skinned people. I don't know why that's done. I don't know. Well, I do know, or I do assume, it does just make you question certain things. It does just make you question certain things, and we did discuss that before. And to me, it just takes away from the credibility of the video. So when I watch these movies that they put out where it's like ancient Egyptians and you got people playing it who look like they would get sunburned in 15 minutes, it's like, so just to have that concept, it's not about, well, why are you bringing up race? Well, it wouldn't have to be brought up if there wasn't such an clear intentions on changing the imagery of people. Like, here, we're talking about a biblical story, something that is supposed to be expressed from God. And it clearly says in the Bible, describing Jesus's skin, that he was the color of bronze, I believe, right? So I don't know why they need to do things like this. But it just questions the legitimacy of a lot of these things. I'll be totally honest with y'all. So me playing the video for y'all, I have to say that. I would sit here and say like, oh, it doesn't matter what color people are. Well, the only reason why it matters is because it says it. So I just wonder why there seems to be such an emphasis to change that. Not to say that people look the same color as me. I don't know. But based on what it says, Let's keep going.
Abraham receives a blessing for his descendants. I will make you into a great nation, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Yet there was a problem. His wife Sarai was barren. She couldn't have children. In those times, a woman's worth was measured by her ability to bear children, making her infertility an enduring source of shame. Later on, God would change her name to Sarah, which means princess. But to Sarah, that name felt like a cruel joke. How could she be a princess when she couldn't even give Abraham an heir? Time passed, and as they grew older and older, God's promise of a child seemed increasingly impossible. Eventually, Sarah was overcome with despair. It was Sarah herself who proposed a solution to Abraham, one rooted in the customs of their time. The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave instead. She gave him her servant, Hagar, so Abraham could have a child with her. It was an act of desperation, but this solution...
So pretty much, oh, wow. Hold up. And I saw just Joy, I saw your comment, and then I saw, hold up. I know, hold up. I know they're not about to try to portray this in this type of way where you got the slave. I'm telling you, I didn't watch the video. What I was getting ready to do is I was going to leave the skin color and everything to the side. And I was just going to explain where we are so far, where Abraham was with Sarah. Sarah, it was believed that she couldn't give birth. So Sarah allowed Abraham to, and this was apparently customs and tradition in that day and age, where Sarah allowed Abraham to have sex and have a child with her slave. This is wild, bro. Like, now that I'm really thinking about it, this is not the direction that I wanted to go with all this, but like, damn, bro. Like, all right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And
soon caused new trouble. Sarah, feeling inferior, began treating Hagar cruelly. Pregnant and humiliated, Hagar did the only thing she could do. She ran away into the desert. Alone in the vast emptiness, her future seemed hopeless. Yet, at the darkest moment, it was not death that found her, but a divine encounter. An angel of the Lord appeared by a spring in the...
I'm glad I'm showing y'all this video, but I doubt if I saw the video before, I would have used this video. But this does happen often with a lot of, like, when I watch these videos, stuff like this often, and they do have a certain way of representing people. Now, there's others that do it in a different way, so you can focus on those videos, but come on, man. This is what creates a lot of this racial divide. Like, I didn't even want to go in this direction. But do y'all know what it feels like for all the people that are sitting there that may say, well, what does it matter the color of his skin? Well, depending on what the color of your skin is, I would say it's easy to say that if it doesn't necessarily impact you. And if it's what does it matter, then why not just use the color that it says? Like, if somebody says to use a brown marker for something, why do you use, like, why use a red one? If it says brown, like, and what does this do? Like, this is what paints these pictures. This is what leads to perhaps a lot of the issues that we have right now. It leads to a lot of why a lot of people think that there's white supremacy. Is there a more supreme being that is recognized globally than Jesus? Or an angel of Jesus? Like, come on, bro. Like, this is really, does his hair look like coarse, like wool or whatever they said Jesus had? Like, this is, come on, man.
The wilderness and spoke directly to her. First, he gave her a command and a blessing. Go back to your mistress and submit to her.
And for the people out there that believe that you can't question religion, this is just another reason. I started off saying that I was not playing this video to bash religion, but damn, Like there's certain people that believe that, well, you shouldn't change religion, you shouldn't change this. But why are we changing this? Why is this representation being like made like this? Because you know where they're going. You got the slave woman who now she's about to have a kid. Well, let me just keep going. I don't want to reveal what happened.
I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. Then she named her son. He will be called Ishmael, meaning God hears, because the Lord has heard your suffering. And here, Genesis introduces a prophecy that explains our current times, describing Ishmael's character in a way that would forever mark his descendants. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. Let this sink in for a second. This ancient phrase describes word for word today's headlines. It may sound offensive, but let's not forget that Ishmael was blessed by God.
And Ant, I'm glad that you said that. Hold on, the video is AI. Definitely the video is AI. But that doesn't mean anything. That maybe goes to show it even more. I just got into it with ChatGPT. Yo, ChatGPT, we got into an argument the other day, and it was because I asked for a picture showing somebody getting freed from court or something. I was using it, excuse me. I was using it as a thumbnail for one of the shows. And when ChatGPT sent out the image, it was this black dude getting locked up by, like, it didn't even tell me, it didn't even show what I asked for. But then they gave me a picture of a black dude getting locked up by 2 white police officers. And I'm like, bro, so ChatGPT and I just got into it. But the reason AI is not AI. All right. AI is not just some artificial. No, it's not artificial. It's programming. It's programming, it's coding. So it's not just like, oh, that's just what something in the clouds gave us. Like soon we're going to be looking at AI like, yo, is this God just creating this out there? No. And I know I'm not saying at all Ant says that. But when I look at this, and Unc said, at least she's a beautiful woman, the so-called slave. She is beautiful. But when I just look at all this, and it's like, let me just catch up with the comments. I'm sorry. But when Ant wrote that he questions everything, this was the point that I was trying to make. We're not supposed to question things, but then when people present something in a way that clearly contradicts what's being presented in the religious scripture, the holy scripture, nobody has a problem with it. So this scripture is so holy that we don't care that people are misrepresenting what it says. And I know that, let me just keep it real. I think that it's very hard for us to put ourselves in other people's shoes. So I know that if you're not black, you watching this, it may have you looking at it where it's like, come on, bro, like it doesn't matter. It's all the same. Like it's all the same to you because perhaps, because you can't truly appreciate the importance of symbolism. You can't truly appreciate when you're growing up in Sunday school and my grandfather's the Sunday school teacher and, you know, I'm learning about how to live life, learning all these different things. And I look up on the wall and I see the picture of the Last Supper and I'm like, oh, that's Jesus. Like, yeah, like Jesus doesn't look anything like me. Like Jesus is a white man. Like, yeah, the greatest man in the world ever to live. Our greatest prophet, he was white. That does something to people. Symbolism, the same way the symbolism impacts the culture of hip hop, the same way symbolism impacts a lot of this stuff. So this is, I'm sorry, but this is very strange. It's very strange. So Ant wrote, racism and prejudice is programmed into algorithms. That's a current ongoing conversation. Yeah, well, the one good thing about it is we get to see it. We get to see exactly how people, oh, this is what y'all was thinking when y'all did, you know what I'm saying? So let's keep going. Let's keep going.
God. What does being a wild donkey mean? It's not an insult. In the ancient world, the wild
And I know I cut it off, so let me go back a couple seconds. But what they're saying is Ishmael's the son of Sarah, the black one. So the son of Sarah, Ishmael, he was, I guess, blessed by God, or it was determined by God. The prophecy for him was that he would be a wild donkey. Now, a lot of people, and this is what they were saying, would look at that as, like, yo, that's kind of wild to be calling somebody a wild donkey, like who, you know what I mean? You start to, especially when you start to consider all these things. Oh, that's the one of the slave. That's the black one. But apparently, pay attention to what they're describing as what a wild donkey means during those times.
But let's not forget that Ishmael was blessed by God. What does being a wild donkey mean? It's not an insult. In the ancient world, the wild donkey was the ultimate symbol of untamable freedom, a fiercely independent spirit, submitting to no one and roaming freely. This prophecy described a people destined to survive against all odds, but also to live in an almost constant state of conflict. Hagar returned and gave birth to her son, whom Abraham named Ishmael. This child would become the patriarch of the Arab people from whom Islam would later emerge. At last, after so many years of waiting...
I'm sorry, the son of Hagar. Appreciate you catching that, Bob. I said what did I say? The son of Abraham? My fault. I mixed that up. Y'all are paying attention more than me. See, I got sidetracked by all the other stuff. That's what happens.
Abraham held in his arms the proof that God's promise was real. Imagine the patriarch's relief and joy. For 13 long years, Ishmael was...
So Ishmael is Abraham and not Sarah's. I said Sarah's. Abraham and Hagar, the slave child. I done got y'all all confused. Ishmael is Hagar and Abraham's son.
His only son, his firstborn, the center of his world, and the heir to all his plans. In this child, Abraham saw the future of a mighty nation. The prophecy described Ishmael as a wild donkey, a fiercely independent spirit difficult to tame. Today, many see this trait in the pride and resilience of Arab nations. Yet the prophecy had two sides. It also warned that his hand would be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. Tragically, this prediction of endless conflict resonates on two painfully evident fronts today. The prophecy wasn't limited to external enemies. The history of the Islamic world has been marked by deep internal divisions, notably between the Sunni and Shia branches. Modern wars like those in Syria or Yemen are tragic examples of this struggle between brothers, echoing the warning that Ishmael's hostility would be directed against everyone, including his own. But the prophecy clarifies even more precisely the roots of conflict with Israel when Isaac is born.
Oh, this is wild.
Years had passed. Sarah was now 90 and had lost all hope in God's promise. She had resigned herself to her legacy continuing through Ishmael. She felt God had abandoned her, but suddenly one day 3 mysterious visitors appeared at Abraham's tent. As 99-year-old Abraham offered them hospitality, one of them gave him incredible news. "I will surely return to you, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Sarah heard the conversation from inside the tent and laughed. It wasn't a laugh of joy, but of bitter disbelief. She no longer dared to hope. Abraham's reaction was also surprising. When God confirmed that the covenant would come through this new son, his first thought was for Ishmael. Instead of celebrating, he pleaded with God anxiously, "If only Ishmael might live under your blessing." This was the reaction of a heartbroken father who loved his first son and feared the conflict that was coming. Despite everything, God kept his word. Sarah gave birth to a son, and Abraham named him Isaac, which in Hebrew means "he will last."
I don't want to spark up any sexism and put the sexes against each other, and I think somebody wrote in the comments, like, we see a lot of this stuff happening now. Yeah, let me Abraham trying to do the right thing. Here Sarah was. She couldn't get pregnant. So here Hagar, her slave, was forced to have a baby with her husband. And How are you going to force me in a situation? And then we'll see what happens next.
This name would forever remember the laughter of disbelief from his parents. For a time, there was joy in the camp, but tension was growing. The conflict erupted during Isaac's weaning celebration. Sarah saw Ishmael mocking his little brother. Here we find an important linguistic detail. The Hebrew word used for mocking shares the same root as the name Isaac. Ishmael wasn't just playing, he was challenging Isaac's place as heir, as if saying, I am the firstborn, the true heir. For Sarah, this was the last straw. Her reaction was swift as she demanded Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance.
Y'all ladies can be ruthless when it comes to protecting your cub. When it comes to women protecting their cubs, things can get ruthless. And I believe that Sarah was probably looking at this situation where, and the weaning is when Isaac was going off of like baby food or breast milk and then transitioning to food, regular food. So that was obviously when Isaac was very young. Ishmael was making fun of him and supposedly mocking him as he'll be the firstborn. And I think Sarah saw 20 years, 30 years from then, maybe 10 years from then, what could potentially be a problem. So here, Ishmael served a purpose when you needed him. But then when you no longer needed him, now you want to get rid of that slave woman and her son.
With my son Isaac.
And all of this stuff is extremely selfish. All across the board. The fact that if this, as I'm hearing this story, I don't know about y'all, but as I'm hearing this story, I'm like, yo, this is just so wild. Like this little story, this is the beef that created all these other issues. This is what makes me just question a whole bunch of stuff. I'll be totally honest. This is what makes me question a whole bunch of stuff. This is why when I read scriptures, I dang near read the scriptures as if I'm reading a fable. I'm being totally honest. I read the scriptures as if I'm reading a fable. Like, I mean, have you ever, imagine you writing a story about yourself. Imagine you get into, let me ask y'all this. Let's say that you get into a beef with somebody. You beefing with somebody and you think you're right about that particular thing. Or maybe we can relate it to politics, but let's just keep it here for now. If you write what happened, you're writing what happened, and the other person who you got into it with is writing what happened. It goes back to that saying where there's their story, and then there's the truth. Somewhere probably in the middle. Is this what we're like? Is this what we're still going to war with over today? He said, she said stuff.
Isaac. The Bible says this deeply troubled Abraham because of his love for his son. His heart was broken. God told him to listen to Sarah, but also promised to make Ishmael into a great nation. Though it pained him, Abraham obeyed. The next morning, he gave bread and water to Hagar and Ishmael and sent them into the desert. That farewell marked the physical separation that confirmed the beginning of a spiritual divide. A father had to choose between his children. Abraham's anguish in casting out his son Ishmael reflects the...
This simp done caused all this chaos moving forward. Hold up. I'm glad that this happened. Hold up. I had no idea that I was going to go to this in this conversation. This simp, Abraham, who allowed his son and his son's mother to be sent off when the son's mother didn't ask for this. You allowed your son to be sent off because you couldn't figure out a way to manage things between your wife and your BM, that your wife forced to be your BM. This is the problem with soft men. And we see a lot of these issues happening today. This is the problem with soft male leadership. And where we have this woman in Sarah who's so obsessive over power because the fear of her son not getting a proper inheritance. This Abraham is he's just the old version of a simp, bro. What father in their right mind? And then I gotta ask y'all a question, yo. I gotta ask y'all a real question. What God would tell a man to send off his son and his son's mother? Can we be real? Because if we did this right now, if I did this right now, let's say that I was in Abraham's situation, I did this right now. Nobody in this chat, nobody watching right now would respect me. What God would allow this? Now, I know y'all gonna say, oh, well, you know, it was different times. Well, God is the all-knowing, right? So let's just say, okay, well, God was only adjusting to those day and times. So maybe this is why we need an updated religion. Maybe somebody needs to come and say, hey, you know, we got to change this. We can't live by this. We can't live by this way. We can't continue to still try to stretch interpretations and try to apply them from thousands of years ago, trying to apply them to today. Maybe that's not the right idea. Or if you're going to say that it should be applied to today, then I got to ask you a question. We're all about accountability, right? If we should be held accountable, then the Most High should be held accountable, right? Or I'm not allowed to say that. I'm just asking, what type of God, what type of ultimate, most high, superior being who believes that we're all, because keep in mind, all of us are supposed to be God's children, right? So what type of God would allow his kids to be separated like that? To allow Abraham and to tell Abraham, you're breaking Abraham's heart, the way that you're describing the story right now. What type of God would be cool with this? This is wild. The mob is fickle.
Historical wounds both peoples carry today. For many Muslim countries and Palestinians, Israel's creation in 1948 and the displacement of their people was a catastrophe. They refer to it as Nakba. This catastrophe is the modern version of Hagar and Ishmael's expulsion into the wilderness. God himself had promised Abraham to bless Ishmael after hearing the patriarch's devotion to him. Suddenly, a baby is born, and overnight, his future vanishes.
So I believe that's the part where Ted Cruz was talking about that God said to bless Israel, but it's Ishmael in this situation. Ishmael will go on to create Israel. Wait, I'm sorry, Isaac. Hold on. I'm getting confused. I just got ahead of myself because I'm thinking about it and I confused y'all. Delete everything that you said. Ishmael was Islam. Isaac was Israel. Ignore what I just said because I think I kind of zoomed ahead a little bit and I confused two things. My apologies.
A baby is born, and overnight, his future vanishes. Isaac's birth didn't mean sharing the inheritance. It meant losing everything. This isn't about simple jealousy. For Ishmael, Isaac's existence meant the erasure of his own identity. We see the parallel today. Israel's existence is interpreted as an erasure of the Muslim identity in surrounding countries. Sarah's demand, that son cannot inherit alongside mine, echoes in today's most radical speeches, for instance, when Iranian leaders call for Israel's destruction. A text cited in Iran's statutes includes a saying attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, which calls for violence. This saying, called a hadith, claims that the final hour will not come unless the Muslims will fight against the Jews and the Muslims would kill them.
Whoa. Let's run that back a little bit. I'm not sure I caught that the first.
Countries. Sarah's demand, that son cannot inherit alongside mine, echoes in today's most radical speeches, for instance, when Iranian leaders call for Israel's destruction. A text cited in Iran's statutes includes a saying attributed to the Prophet Muhammad, which calls for violence. This saying, called a hadith, claims that the final hour will not come unless the Muslims will fight against the Jews and the Muslims would kill them, until the Jews would hide themselves behind a stone or a tree, and a stone or a tree would say, Muslim, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. But this hadith, referenced in the charter of the Palestinian political
All right, no joking. Are y'all like kind of where I'm at with this? Like, and Unc said that's not true. I'm so I don't know if this is, obviously we'd have to do some due diligence and research on this, but the more I'm hearing it, it just becomes very sad. This just becomes very sad. And what you realize is that where a lot of reasons why religion was created, to create structure, to control a particular group of people based on a culture, a way of life, all these different things, you realize all the negative things that come along with that control and how people can misuse something so powerful when you do have control over people and misinterpret certain things. So so Unc wrote, that is not true, nephew. The Quran does not say kill Jews. There's a quote in the Quran that says all religions shall be shared equally. Yeah, this I'm gonna be totally honest. This whole video seems very biased, and I'm glad that we broke it down, because if we probably didn't go through it, we wouldn't have realized how a lot of this stuff is presented to people. Because think about it, if I just watched this video on my own without sharing it with y'all, I wouldn't have known that, Unc, unless I did my due diligence and research. And most people just trust YouTube, right? Most people aren't going to go back and now check the scripture of the Quran or check this. And this is what ends up happening. People almost have used their superior knowledge of the scriptures to manipulate people into following certain parts of the scriptures, into interpreting it in a particular way, and them being salespeople to push a particular narrative, to push a particular agenda that solves their issue, not necessarily what's for the greater good of the people. And it doesn't really make sense, because when you hear Farrakhan talking about Jewish people, there's a lot of things where he commends Jesus, a lot of that. And matter of fact, let's look this up, because this is the problem with a lot of this. Let me look this up for y'all. So, you tell me, wasn't there a time where Muslims actually took Jews into their households? I mean, isn't that what happened when the story of Bella Hadid, or Bella Habib, I forget her name. Isn't that the story there where, like, I'm realizing more and more how they try to paint Muslims in a certain way, and it's all just for this greater purpose that I said the same thing yesterday with Fox News, where they're trying to get us to devalue the lives of a lot of Muslims, particularly in that region, for us to not look at them as, oh, they deserve to live. The reason why is because they commit all this terrorism, they do all these evil things, they do this, they do that, and they push death, they push terrorism. But then, even though when you take a step back, which most people won't do, when you look at tallying up the deaths on both sides, both people have used their religion to commit some atrocities. And I'm not standing up for Islam. Let me be very clear. Islam and the Arab slave trade impacted Africa and was based on my research, was a much more vicious type of slavery than what was going on in America. So I'm not, once again, the conversation goes, I'm not pro-Islam and I'm not pro-Judaism. I'm not pro-Christian. I'm not any of that. I'm just somebody that's looking to live amongst humanity and figure out a way where we can all live in harmony and have the best type of lives together that we can. Regardless of what way of life you buy into, what way of life you want to live by, whatever. This is why all that matters. All of this religion, you can take whatever scripture, whatever stories, whatever important passages inspire you and guide you in life. You could take all of that stuff, but not anything in the Bible, in the Torah, in the Quran, in my opinion, is more important than the golden rule of treating others the way we'd like to be treated. Imagine if Sarah treated others the way that she wanted to be treated. Imagine if God, in that situation where he's pressuring Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael off. And my apologies if I get the names wrong. I'm not too familiar on this story. Like I said, I was trying to learn and go through it with you all. But this just seems to be like, when the more I'm looking at this stuff, the more I'm learning, it just all seems to make sense. It all seems to make sense. Like all of this stuff, it's like, yo, this is like, what are we beefing over? This is legit like the same ways. Like I literally have heard stories about different gangs in California where the reason why they initially had a breakup and they've had war for the last 30 years is because this dude ended up messing with that dude's girl and it was over some baby mama drama. And I'm looking at it like, yo, that's so silly. And the majority of people will look at it like it's silly. But then when we look at religion, we don't keep the same energy. This is wild. I don't know if y'all seeing it the same way, but this is wild. So Unc wrote, I have a very good understanding of the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible. This is one more reason why I say education is the best way to manifest one's own destiny when it comes down to freeing. Yeah. Unc said, in the Islamic tradition, it does not say that you should burn an enemy's crops. It's forbidden. This is the same. And what we're seeing is that, and I think all of us, we've all been able to see how religion, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Islam, we've all seen how people will manipulate their religions in order to cause devastation and harm on other people. We've all seen that. Nobody can deny that. Nobody can deny that. And please, if somebody feels that they can deny it, if somebody feels, well, this religion didn't commit this atrocity, please let me know. It is not okay to justify murdering, to justify treating people any other way than you would like to be treated just because you're rationalizing it with religion. I will not budge from that. I will never budge from that. Let's keep going. Shout out to my little bro, Michael, in the building. Tap in, Michael. That's the one that I did the interview with. The best entrepreneur, Miami Beach's top entrepreneur, Miami overall. My fella, I didn't mean to lock it down just to Miami Beach, but let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, hold on, and hold on. Queez wrote Hinduism, and I don't know as much. I was just talking about those three. I was just talking about Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Now, Buddhism, I don't think a lot of Buddhists are with, based on what I've read, I think Buddhism is more, treating people the way that you want to be treated, the golden rule. I don't know if there's any mention of justified violence in Buddhism or Hinduism. I just don't know. But maybe we should look it up. Maybe one day a week we should start learning about different religions, because when we look at how much of an impact these religions have on our day-to-day lives, have on the way that we see each other, our perspective of certain things, perhaps we should take a deeper dive and understand the foundational principles of these religions. And Maya wrote, Buddhism is completely against violence. That's what I thought, because I studied a little bit of Buddhism for a while. And it's funny? Whenever I think of Buddhism, my old mentor, he said that he used to like Buddhism, but the only thing that kept him away from Buddhism was he felt like you couldn't make money in like a capitalist society, like neither here nor there. For the ones that know, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Maya wrote, Thailand is super peaceful, barely any violence or crime. Did you know that Buddhism came from India? I didn't know that. I'm not sure that I would have got it right on if you asked me, but yeah, it looks like, the big belly. Yeah, it looks like I mean, not to say that Indians are looking like big belly, but I'm saying the Buddha looks Indian. I believe. Maybe he's not Indian. I don't know, but I don't know if I would have got that wrong or right. But yeah, let's keep going.
Authority known as Hamas continues in an even more revealing way. Or a tree, and a stone or a tree would say, Muslim, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. But this hadith, referenced in the charter of the Palestinian political authority known as Hamas, continues in an even more revealing way. The text adds that all rocks and trees will betray the Jews, with the exception of the boxthorn tree. Tradition associates the boxthorn with a Jewish tree. A few years ago, an imam in Palestine cited this same hadith during an event. He claimed that Jews know about this prophecy and, for this very reason, are planting thousands of boxthorn trees in their settlements to have places to hide when the time comes. Despite the painful separation between Isaac, representing Israel, and Ishmael, representing the Arab peoples, God had a plan for both, but the plans were different. To understand why Ishmael's blessing differs from Isaac's, one must first understand the most important aspect of this story, the covenant with God. And most importantly, only Isaac received the covenant. A covenant is more profound than just a promise. It is a binding commitment, a sacred and special relationship between God and a chosen people. Through this covenant, God promised Abraham a unique relationship, and through Abraham, blessings that would flow to all his descendants. But why Isaac and not Ishmael the firstborn? The answer is a divine choice that we cannot understand. And God is very explicit about this. Yes, but your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac.
I mean, I'll be totally honest. Based on what I'm hearing, I guess it's easy for people to come away with the fact that, for people to believe, or for people that are, it makes sense why Jewish people would believe that they're the chosen people. Based on what I'm hearing. But what I question is just like, isn't religion supposed to bring people together? If religion is supposed to symbolize a connection with God, then how could it be designed to do anything, to justify anything that does not bring people together, and on the contrary, actually can be used to commit violence against other people? I don't understand this. I really don't understand this. And it's sad, It's really sad, because I don't know about y'all, but if you've known me, if you've known me my entire life, one, I don't like violence. I've always had like a certain like cautiousness where, that's neither here nor there. I was actually talking to my mom about that, like anxiety or just a certain level of fear for not doing things the right way. Always had that. But one thing above all, like I always just wanted people to get along, different types of people. Like I'm the friend where I'm going to bring all different types of people around each other, and just hopefully I'm hoping in my mind that it'll work out. People that typically wouldn't be around each other, because that's one of the greatest things that I've been fortunate to have, where especially growing up in Montclair, New Jersey, you grow up with all different types of people. Like our childhood was so different from pre-K to, I guess, until high school, when you really start to separate, and that's more just based on sports and stuff like that. You still go to parties with all your friends that you grew up with, but from pre-K to really 8th grade, you hang out with everybody. Especially from pre-K to 5th grade. You're hanging out with everybody. So it allows you to appreciate certain things about different groups. And when you're around different groups, it's very hard to buy into, oh, that group, they're this type of way, they're negative, they're these things. When it's like, well, what do you mean? I chill with I chill with Ryan all the time. Like, his family's not like that. So it doesn't allow you to buy into the BS. But when you grow up in neighborhoods where you're not exposed and you're not around different types of people, what it ends up doing is allows these stereotypes, and it allows us to be triggered by certain things that we otherwise wouldn't be triggered by, and that we, in some cases, would stand up and be like, yeah, what are y'all talking about? Like, I know plenty of Muslims that don't move like that. I know plenty of Jewish people that don't move like that. I know plenty of Christians that move like that. But what I also think is what I talked about earlier in the week is that people that identify as Christian, as Jewish, and Muslim, if you identify as those particular religions, I think that there needs to be more of an onus and responsibility for people to start living up to those things. And if what we're seeing going on in the world today is people living up to their religions, then I'm cool. I don't want it. I don't want any parts of it. If what we're seeing going on in the rest of the world, throughout the world, and it's funny, I just spoke to OG Baywa. Y'all know who Baywa is. She's a member of the team. She's in Nigeria. And I was asking her because I saw a news article. I was like, yo, what's going on in Nigeria with Christians being killed and stuff like that? And she was talking about, I'm like, yo, how is all of this, like these negative things, how do we as the people allow ourselves to get manipulated and bamboozled into committing terrorist acts under the name of God? Like, isn't that the most disrespectful thing that you can do? And why would you even, I'm just being totally honest, I could never follow a God that condones slavery in any sorts. I could never follow a God that condones killing in any sorts. I just can't follow that type of God. Like, you're supposed to be the ultimate being. In my opinion, when you're showing those flaws, then how could you be the ultimate being? When you're condoning those flaws, when you're condoning people to commit these acts, like I just can't rock with it. I'll be totally honest with you. I can't rock with it. But that's just me. I don't need to see, I never needed to belong to a particular group in order for me to feel good about myself, or in order for me to feel confident and stuff. I didn't need to belong. I don't need to belong to a frat. I don't need to belong to a gang. I don't need to belong to your well, chess club. I was a part of chess club, but I don't need to belong to any type of anything that separates people and causes division and hatred compared to anything else. I definitely don't need to be a part of that. But people feel that they need to be aligned with a particular group in so many different ways that you'll pledge your allegiance to a particular group without even questioning the things that come along with it, because you just want to be a part of something so much. Because you just want to be a part of something so much, you're condoning this. You want to be a part of something so much, you're going to condone a father sending his child and his child's mother off because his other child's mother, who created the entire situation in the first place, she should be grateful for Hagar. She should be grateful for that son. This is look, man, that's why to me it goes back to the golden rule. Just treat others the way you want to be treated. You can apply that to anything going on in the world today. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Oh, you don't like being bombed? Maybe you shouldn't bomb other people. Is that such a, groundbreaking? Put it in scripture. Like, let's keep going. We'll keep going for a little bit. Did I just mess up the chat by pressing something? Hold on.
Will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. Later, he reaffirms it. Because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. This decision establishes a central idea in the Bible. Divine election is not based on human merit or order. Ishmael was born from Sarah and Abraham's human plan and effort. Isaac, however, was born from a miracle, from God's direct intervention in two elderly and barren bodies. The spiritual covenant is tied to the miracle, not the human plan. Ishmael receives a blessing of worldly greatness. Isaac receives the covenant to be part of God's sacred.
I was on mute. My bad. My bad. My bad. My bad. My apologies. Damn, it's been on mute for a whole minute. My fault. I tried to blow my nose. All right, let me try to give y'all all that again. What type of God? And when I came on, I called Cap. What type of God would call one child a miracle and the other just regular? What type of God? Oh, nah, this wasn't a fart. This is actually me blowing my nose. My bad. That's why I got up. But what type of God? Just think about that. If there was somebody that we know that had a child and they had one child by one baby mother and her family don't really come from nothing, like, yeah, they're a little booger. They don't really come from nothing. They don't come from success. They live in the hood, whatever. And then you got this other family where, oh, well, her family's got money. Her family is successful. Like, to me, that is the most like that's so corny, you know, for lack of better words. That's so corny and it's so ungodly for you to imagine God saying that one child's birth. Excuse me, I never had any kids. I don't have any kids, but I would be very offended if my parents thought that my brother or I were the blessing and the other was just, or the miracle and the other was just whatever. Would that be the godly thing to do? For all those that have kids, now y'all see why I put it on mute. For all those that have kids, is one of your kids the miracle and the other not? So what I'm trying to ask is, isn't God supposed to set a standard? And Maya, and shout out to Maya, one of my favorite people in the world, my other Maya. But let me ask y'all a question. Isn't God supposed to set the standard? Isn't that supposed to be the ultimate standard in how we carry ourselves through life? So let me ask y'all a question. And Maya said it happens all the time. I agree with you. Let me actually get that back on the screen if I can. Maybe it happens all the time because God is setting the tone. God said it's cool. He said it's cool. Hey, if you need to get rid of that other kid and that baby mom and push them to the side so you can have some peace at home and be with this family that's more successful moving forward, then that's okay. This is your blessing. This is the miracle. Forget that other kid. Send them off with some bread and water. They be all right. Perhaps this is why it's happening, and is it even wrong? Is it even wrong if God is telling, like, did y'all just peep? Like, do I need to run that back? Hold on, let me run that back. But this is, why are we such, and I don't know if I repeated this already, but why are we so thirsty to be a part of something? Why are we so thirsty to have this type of guidance? Like maybe we would be in a better position if instead of trying to live by particular scripture that's supposed to represent God's words, maybe the world would be a better place if we did two things. One, adopt the golden rule of treating others the way that we want to be treated. And two, perhaps to just communicate directly with God. Perhaps the middleman is getting in the way. And perhaps religion, which is supposed to connect you directly to God, perhaps that's just the middleman that's trying to use it for the wrong reasons for control. So if we come from God, just the same way, if I imagine me calling my mom or dad's phone and somebody else picks up yo, who is this call? Who is this picking up? Where's my mom? Where's my dad? Oh yeah, they right here. Well, put them on the phone. Oh, well, what you want? What you need? I'll talk to them. Just tell me what you want, and then I'll tell you what they were. Yo, is my mom and dad there? Yo, I'm about to FaceTime y'all. Where's my mom and you get what I'm saying? I don't need to communicate through this particular vehicle that is driving us in a very terrible place, that is driving us away from God, who's trying to convince me that this is the path to go. Matter of fact, I've seen that situation happening sometimes where, let's say that somebody's father is getting old and they got this new young girlfriend. The father may have made a lot of money, may have had a lot of power. You never know. And that they got a new lady. And I'm not trying to just call out the ladies, but I'm just using this as an example. So bear with me, give a little grace. And you start, your father wanted a way of life one way. And I kind of just spoke to one of my homies about this, so I got to be careful in how I'm describing it. But what they were telling me is that, let me just back up. Let me make believe situation. Let's say you have the mother or the girlfriend who, she wants to get married quickly. What? Okay. What's the point? Okay. Yeah, I want to get married. Then you start communicating with your dad or sending your dad texts and whatnot and calling. And the girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever she's calling herself, she starts picking up the phone. She starts making certain decisions. She starts doing all this. That's what it feels like happened. And Maya said it you hit the nail on the head. People are not encouraged to be free thinkers. And think about it like this. Religion, I learned this years ago when I started questioning religion and I started questioning pastors, and I noticed that they would get a little offended, the nerve of this young man. Who does he think he is to question Jesus, to question God? Well, I'm one of God's children, right? If one of God's children can't ask questions about certain things, then who can? Especially if I'm questioning how you're representing my pops and how you're misrepresenting my pops. Imagine that, like God's first child and stuff, who God gave the information that was inspired in all these scriptures, right? Because now it's pretty much understood. I know 10, 20 years ago, when I used to have these conversations, people used to say, no, God wrote the Bible. But now we accept that it was inspired. So imagine this. Imagine who God actually gave the information to. What they're thinking by looking at all this stuff. Y'all playing with my dad's name. My dad ain't represent that. My dad wasn't pushing that. My dad was pushing the opposite. Y'all how upset would you be? But instead, we just carry along. We just carry along. Unc wrote, but Jesus did say, follow God's word, not man. Do not make idols, but man does anyway. This is why there is such thing as saints. But Jesus did say, follow God's word. But who's God's word? That's what I'm saying. When you say, am I following God's word? Or am I following the Bible? And is this what Jesus said, or is this what somebody said that he said? It's inconsistent. Do not make idols. If I was creating a religion, I would do the same thing. Yo, don't idolize anybody else but me. How many head coaches? Oh no, we don't want you practicing with your coaches. I know a lot of kids nowadays got their individual coaches. We don't want y'all learning certain things from them. Boxing coaches are very much like this. We don't want you learning certain things. Then we got to no. Just work with us. Curiosity should never be a sin, and that's the problem. This is what we'll do. I think we're halfway done with this. What we'll do is we'll catch up on the rest of it tomorrow and just continue this conversation. And I'm glad that y'all are willing to have this conversation with me, because I have a lot of these thoughts, and I just always wonder, like, yo, how are people just subscribing to this, pledging their allegiance to this? Like, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. Yo, Ant is funny. Yo, Ant is out of pocket, bro. Ant funny. You know exactly what I was thinking about, right? Nah, that's how Tafari is. Shout out to big bro Tafari. We got to tap in with Tafari. But I really feel like if the majority of all of us, like if the 6,000 people in here right now, if we came together, and that's so annoying. When I hear that come through the mic, when I do it, it's like, yo, stop doing that. But then it's just so addicting to just, I'm sorry. It's nasty. Get that out. All right. I lost my train of thought. That's the ADD setting in, or whatever they call it. Whatever. Dang, where was I? I lost my train of thought. This damn nose got me losing my train of thought, but neither here nor there. If the 7,000 of us came together and said, hey, we're going to create something. You don't got to call it a religion. You don't got to call it whatever, but we're going to try to create just a simple way of life. We could just write it on a one-pager. Maybe that's what we should do. Create a one-pager that at least has the foundational principles and a summary of what it is we're looking to do and what we're looking to create by, you can call it to say, by being more godly. And by being more godly, what we mean, I guess we'd have to establish a definition of what godly is, but it's just our connection between each other. Because that's really what, God is, the energy connection, everything, how everything intervenes with each other. So I really believe that if all of us came together and established something, we would be able to create something that makes more sense and that wouldn't be able to be as manipulated or used to manipulate people as much as what the current religions are doing right now. I really believe maybe that is something that we should create. But you know what they'll say? They'll say that, oh, that's a cult, that they're doing all this type of stuff. It is what it is. But maybe it's just a loose way, some loose commitments, some principles, some values that we can just set for ourselves to guide us, right? Because that's what religion is supposed to be, our compass to having a stronger connection with God and becoming the best human beings that we can become. That's what I thought. But, and Unc, all right, so Unc, why don't you jump on tomorrow a little bit? Even if you don't feel like coming on the entire show, but why don't you jump on tomorrow if we can, so we can just, share a couple conversations about this and just build on our convo already today. So let me let y'all go. Damn, it's 10. I was supposed to get out of here by 9 o'clock. All right, let's do this. Let's do our 45 seconds. Most important part of the show. Make sure y'all like and subscribe real quick. For all those that haven't subscribed, like. Let's do our 45 seconds where we do our breath work, even though it's going to be hard for me. I'm going to mute it because I don't want y'all hearing this. My breath work, my 45 seconds, probably, to be totally honest with y'all, is going to consist of blowing my nose and getting some of this stuff up. But I'll be every bit of phlegm or whatever is in my nose that comes up, it will symbolize releasing all the negative energy while also Yeah. I was going to say releasing some positive energy, but just the negative for this time. We got to get rid of the phlegm. Before we can start releasing some positive energy, we got to get rid of all the negative. So every inhale is going to be me inhaling nothing but health, and me understanding, or us understanding, that our bodies are healing themselves. If we allow it to. If we allow our bodies to heal ourselves, they will. But I go off on these tangents, man. All right, 45 seconds. Y'all know what it is. Every exhale, we're exhaling the negative. Every inhale, inhaling the positive. And let's do 45 seconds starting now. And hold up, Unc, you really trying to come down for the show? All right, 45 seconds. Focus up, bro. All right, one last exhale. One last inhale. That wasn't bad. All right, y'all know what it is. What we come here to do, elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards to become the best individuals we can become, the best. No, what am I talking about? The best individual. That's how you know I'm sick. To become the best leaders we can become, and to become the best individuals we can become, not only to be able to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish. So obviously we got to grow individually and internally. Definitely got to focus on the internal, but with the overall mindset and belief and allegiance to humanity overall. All right. What allows me to become the best version of myself so I can make the best impact that I can on this world, right? That's purposeful. So when we talk about purposeful abundance, hopefully it's not just about us making money, us doing these things, that's all cool. But hopefully there's something that applies to the overall greater good. All right. So strength and honor, onward and upward. Y'all know what it is. Get to that bag. Y'all know what I mean when I say get into the bag. If y'all don't, I'm talking about all the things along the way that are going to add up and make sure that we're on the proper trajectory of living in our purpose as we strive for that purposeful abundance, and that we make the impact on this world that we're looking to make, that we like to call what? Our personal legend. All right. So on that note, you got to determine what's in your bag, the things that are in my bag, what I like to focus on: peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and in everything we do, integrity. So Unc sent the one love, nephew. As usual, I've elevated my mind just by having this conversation with all of you out there today. Thank you, family. And when I say family, I mean to each and every viewer. That's love, Unc. That's love, Unc. Maya sent the heart. Appreciate Maya, man. Appreciate you. Love you as well. Miss you. I know I missed you. I was supposed to see you a couple days or a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't make it. So now I'm feeling even bad now that I'm thinking about it. But hopefully I'll get to see you soon. Ant wrote, have a great day, great people. Ant, LOL. And then he sent the fire emojis for Queez. So shout out to Queez. Even if Queez can't be here, or if he can't comment, his energy is always felt and his presence is always felt. So with that, I'll see y'all soon. See y'all tomorrow. I'm going to be healthy tomorrow. I'm manifesting it. I promise y'all this little thing will not hold me back. I don't like the way that I sound on here. I don't like any of this. So we're going to address that today. I'll see y'all soon. Ew.